Yep. Okay, hi. I'm Kris with HFP Racing, and I am beyond thrilled and honored to get to spend the evening talking to these fabulous women about what it's like to be moms in triathlon. And so we're going to start off by having everyone introduce themselves, just a couple of sentences about who you are, about being a mom, how long you've been in triathlon, and whatnot. And Ashley, we'll start with you.
Okay, my name is Ashley Galonia, and this will be my third year competing in triathlon events. My very first event was Antrim Park. They did a small little triathlon race. That was my very first one. And I usually participate in the duathlon event. I am a good swimmer, but I don't like to swim in pond and creeks and all that fun stuff. So I have two kids. My daughter is 20 years old and my son is 14 years old.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Michelle Slowinski. I've been doing triathlons for almost 20 years. I got started in college at Ohio State with the triathlon club there, and it was there that I met my husband, Rick. And so we've both been doing triathlons for a long time, and now we have 3 boys, ages 8, 4, and almost 2. So it's a lot different, but we are still trying, and it is. We'll talk more, but yeah, it's different, but it's still a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Danielle, how about you?
Hi, I'm Danielle Smith. I am a mom. My daughter's 23. I started triathlon, it was 2008, I think. So she was like 7 years old when I started. And I also have a 5-year-old granddaughter now too. So she's starting to get into some of the racing too. So my first one was in Bucyrus and up here in Northwest Ohio. So
awesome. Congratulations. Thanks, Danielle. Teresa, how about you?
Guys, I am Teresa Fontana. I am starting my 3rd season of triathlon. So I'm definitely later in life when my kids went off to college. I have 4 children. Let me get this right. 27, 25, 23, and 22 and 20. So I have 4 kids. My last one's still in college. The other 3 are out of college. So I started my first triathlon with HFP at Deer Creek 3 years ago. And I've got the bug.
I love it. Great. Thanks, Teresa. Cameron, on to you.
My name's Cameron Walsh. I am down here in Cincinnati, mom of 5 beautiful girls, ages 15, 14, 12, and 10-year-old twins. So there's a lot of estrogen in our house. I first started triathlon in 2018, with my first being Caesars Creek with HFP, where my kids were still little. They're still little now, but they're much smaller. And I had the joy of crossing the finish line with my 2 oldest at the time and another mama and her 2 oldest who were still littles. So I think that was a great moment. I've been around triathlon longer than that because my husband's been in it. And so I was Sherpa duty for probably a good 3 or 4 years prior to that with all the little kids. So it's fun. It's a challenge. It's a balance. But a lot of good stuff to come.
Awesome. Thanks, Cameron, for sharing. 5 girls. Wow. Kendra, you're up next.
All right. So my name is Kendra Bobby, and I started triathlon. My first race was Portage Lakes, and I want to say it was 2007 or 2008. I always get those confused, but I did take a chunk of time off in between and then really got back into in the past, I would say 6+ years. And so, yeah, it's just been something to push myself. You know, there's multiple disciplines, so you can always make progress somewhere, which is something I really love. I am not a mother to children. I have some fur babies, so I will be jumping in later in the conversation with some other topics.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendra. Kendra, you and I are in the same boat. I'm not a mom either, but I'm hoping that these females will help us understand what it's like to be a mom and involved in this sport, and educate us so that we can be their best support sisters, right? Because we can support each other, but if we understand their challenges and what they're facing with every day, then we can support them in a different way. So, ladies, with that being said, my first question for you is, having a career and a family and being involved in sport must be really interesting to juggle. Now, I hesitate to use the word balance because I think a lot of times things are off balance. And so, with that being said, I want to use the word juggle. So what are some of the strategies that you have, or even the mantras that you tell yourself that help you juggle those different aspects of life? Maybe.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in on that.
Thanks.
Juggle is the right word, because I don't know if you ever truly find that perfect balance, especially when you have multiple athletes in the house. It's definitely there. It's structure. It's a lot of good time management, I think, is the best. So for instance, I love to work out in the morning, so that's my time. Whereas my husband, he does more either over his lunch or in the afternoon. And when the kids were smaller, we had to juggle, like, okay, we couldn't go on long rides together or long runs together. So I would do my long ride on one day when he would run, so I could be at home. And it's just trying to figure out that balance. I do know as the kids get older, and this is for all the moms out there, as the kids get older, it does definitely get easier. But there is a lot of, I don't want to say sacrifice, because none of it's a sacrifice, but it's like, okay, I can either go to bed early, so I make sure I get up at 5 a.m. to get my ride in, and that's my time, or I can sleep in, or, you know, you have to make choices. And sometimes those choices aren't always what you want them to be, but you do it. And I know that, again, I'll go back to, no one wants to get up at 5 a.m. and get on a trainer for 2, 3, 4 hours or whatever that ride is. But I always feel so good at the end of it. And I'm glad I gave myself the time to do that. So I think the mantra around that is, it's self-care. At the end of the day, that's my time. You know, no, it's a peaceful house. No one else is going to interrupt it. My kids know that. And most of the time I'm waking them up going, hey, I finished my workout. You want to go grab breakfast? You know, so they see it. I think the other great thing is, I know I'm doing more in that time for myself, which ultimately helps the family because I'm not as crazy. And my kids see me doing it, and they see that healthy lifestyle. And I think that for me, especially being a mom of girls, I think it's very important for them to see, I do this for my mental health. I do this to stay healthy for you guys. I do this to be a better person. And I think that's a really important message for girls and females just in general. So every time they see me go out and do a race or do a long run, they're there. They've become my biggest supporters too, because like, Mom, we know how important this is for you, so we'll take care of this. So that's where I think it's really good to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that especially as females, we don't do the self-care that we should a lot of the time. We put others in front of, you know, everything else that we want to do. And for my kids to start to see, no, this is okay, and this keeps me healthy for you long term, is a good thing.
I think being a mom has evolved over time, where now we are starting to, women are starting to take care of themselves and want their children to see them taking care of themselves rather than running themselves through the ground.
Yeah.
So did anyone else want to add to that?
I
Chime
can.
in. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you sure?
Yep. How about Danielle? You go first, and then we'll go pass the baton to Teresa.
Okay. I was just gonna say, when my daughter was younger, I had her involved with the training with me. So when I would get off work, she was younger, so I had like the trailer you pulled behind the bike. So I'd take her and the bike and the trailer to the park and do my bike. If I was doing a run, I'd push her in the jogging stroller. And she'd have a little book or game and she enjoyed it. And then when she got a little bit older and was riding a bike, she'd ride her bike and I would run. So we had fun. It was like our thing to train together. So it was,
I love that. Getting
Yeah.
everybody involved in it.
yeah.
Good. Teresa, how about you?
Well, I'm coming from a little bit of a different angle now that my kids are older. Even though I only on 3 years ago, I've been a fitness instructor in Columbus for 30 years. So all my kids have really ever seen was mom working out. Like mom goes to the gym, dad does also, but they were always with me when they were really little. And now kind of coming through the tunnel on the other side, it's really exciting to see that my kids incorporate fitness in their lives. You know, you can talk to your blue in your face that of things you want your children to be and do and all that, but when they see it and it's part of their entire life, they all work out, they all hike, they're all outdoorsy. I used to have a little mantra with especially I have 3 girls and 1 boy, but with the little girls, when I pull into the gym, I say, "Why are we here?" And they'd be in their little car seats and stuff, and they say, "To be fit and healthy." Because I never ever wanted them to equate being, drugged to the gym, anything to do with weight and unhealthy aspects of, sometimes when women work out at that level. So it's neat for me to see that all my 20-something-year-olds, it's just part of their life now. They saw it all growing up. So I just wanted to add that part in.
I love that. I love that. And it sounds like that's what everyone really is doing, is incorporating that. And I think that's great. Any last thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that having a good support system, whether it's your spouse or grandparents, even the older kids, being there to support, other family members when you can't be there to do mom duty. My older daughter, she'll run my son around to track practice when I can't, so that I can go out and practice for everything that I have to prepare for. And same with my spouse. He's there as backup when I'm busy doing my own thing. And they all realize that it's just as important to me and my mental health to have that support from them when I can't be there and fulfill my mom duties all the time.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ashley. So what I gathered from that is organization, support is another big one, and really and making choices. Like if you really want to do it, then there are some choices that you have to make in order to make it work. With that being said, some of you have already alluded to this, but we can expand on it a little bit, in that for those of you who were, when you started triathlon or duathlon, what changed for you about the sport than for those of you who became a mother after you were already an athlete? And how does it look different for those of you who were a mom and then you became an athlete?
Well, I'll jump in on that. I was already a mom when I started triathlon. I think it helped. Again, I'll go back to my spouse was already in it. So the girls and I had already gone to races and cheered and got to see all that fun. And they loved coming, because they were probably 5 was the oldest at the time. They loved coming to the races and cheering. They enjoyed the community around it. So for me, when I did that first one and my spouse came and brought the girls, they thought that was the best thing ever. Now, how that changed for me was, I remember going maybe 2 years into it, there might have been a race or 2 that I was in tears, because I'm like, I feel like I'm taking time away from the kids. And I don't want that. I want them to know that I'm still around and I'm still here. So there is some of that struggle, and I'm sure all of us have faced that in some way or form. And it was really great because the kids have kind of grown up in it. They're like, but mom, this is important to you. We love seeing you do this. So sometimes just having those little things like that to say, we got this, we're here to cheer you on too, was enough for me to be like, okay, what I'm doing is really good and okay. Now at the time, I was also still doing some Disney races, and Run Disney, they do put put on great stuff. And my kids are like, so are we going to go to Disney World? Is that how kind of like this race is? I'm like, no, it's kind of more in a park, but it's still a lot of fun and you'll love being there and you can swim. So, I think the more you find like family friendly races, like HFP puts on a lot of them, the kids enjoy it. And so they see that and then they want to support you and they want to be there and they want that. For me as a mom, that helps that, I know I'm out there racing, but they're having a blast. And knowing that your kids are taken care of while you're doing something for yourself, I think was just enough for me to be like, okay, this is good. This is all good. Everyone's taken care of. My herd's good.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned mom guilt, and I know that those of us who were together earlier this year talked about that guilty feeling, and I know that weighs heavily. But when you have the support system of your spouse and your children, I'm sure that helps quite a bit. Yeah. So about training and doing these events, how might it have changed for you as you became a mom, or even, you were a mom and then you wanted to go into sport?
I'll go here.
Looks like you want to say something, Michelle.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate everyone's feedbacks because I'm learning as I'm hearing from all your different perspectives. But having been in the sport and competing for me on my schedule and pretty much on my terms, and then having kids, just having to adapt to, it's not my schedule anymore, and there's not this concrete training plan and this is what I'm going to do on this day because the schedule says it, or there's this practice. It's so day by day, and even with races too, I don't have an A race. I have whatever race works in our family schedule.
So again, it goes back to that flexibility, right? Like you're used to having this structure, and it sounds to me like once the kids happen, the structure goes out the door unless you're super organized and can make that work.
But I wouldn't even want to put that pressure on anyone to say
Sure.
you have to be super organized, because with kids there's lightning strikes. That's what we say all the time. We just, when we think we're going to do something else, happens, whether it's for training or racing, and you adjust. And that is part of being a mom. And I actually think it is a really good lesson for an athlete, because if you get to be so rigid and something happens on race day, kids or no kids, you're going to have a hard time. But when you're a mom and you start to learn to go with the flow and take the lightning strikes as they happen and let that storm ride out, you're going to have a better experience.
Good. I like it. So with that being said, then what would be, just in one sentence, what would be something that you would advise for a mom who wants to get involved in triathlon or duathlon? What would be your advice? And anyone can unmute and
I would say build your support and community. I think that is what has helped me the most throughout all of my races. And it's not only the support from your family, but from your club, if you're part of one, because I know I've gone out with many other females, moms, whatever their schedules were, so that we could get our training in and have some connection and know that someone else was going through the same things that we were, being able to share a sitter if we needed to, just having that community support and people who check in on you can just do so much to keep you engaged in the sport. And then remember, this is for you. Have fun. Go, like as Michelle said, our race schedule, we have it planned out and we try to hit all of those races, but a lot of the times it's, randomly I signed up for the sprint because I know there's no kid activities going on and I know it'll be fun, and just go with it.
thanks.
And the flexibility.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Cameron. Ashley, did you have one piece of advice for someone who might be on the fence?
Kind of just going off of what Cameron said, finding like a group of people. Like I connected first basically with a running group, and then kind of ran into Craig at one of the trail runs, and that's how I got connected with triathlon. So just finding, I guess, like-minded individuals, and just seeing what's out there. There's races going on everywhere in your local community, and HFP racing. The races are super friendly, and small. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about triathlon is that it seems very intimidating, like there's going to be thousands of people there, and it really is not. And I don't know how you get that across to people who see these Ironmans on TV and think it's this big, crazy race when it's not.
That's really good advice. Thank you. Anyone else? Some advice for someone a mom who wants to get involved.
I would just say, come up with a plan, but at the same time, be flexible. Be able to, if you're supposed to run, but you can't that day, maybe you can do a bike ride, or just have it so you get at least one of each sport in a week, but make it so it's more flexible, and see if your family can be involved. That helps a lot too.
Yeah. I have one last question for your ladies, and this is going to pull at your heartstrings. But I want everyone to answer just in one sentence. We don't have to, give a big thing, but I want to know, what is the greatest joy in combining motherhood and sport?
I'll answer that one. Crossing the finish line. Oh, I'm going to cry over this one. Crossing the finish line and having my family there. They're older and they understood what it took for me to get to my first sprint. And, I was 58 years old when I started triathlons. So to have them rally behind me was just everything, because I came out of the water really deflated. I hyperventilated. I had so, which shocked the heck out of me. And if I wouldn't have come out of that water and seen my family cheering me on, I may have tapped out at that point. And it ended up being a great race, because I just looked at their faces and I just went. And I'm like the whole time going, I'm not going to disappoint them. So anyway, for me, it was just crossing the finish line and them jumping in my arms.
I love it. I love it, Teresa. That's great. That was your first. And you know what? You never get another first, right? So
no,
that's beautiful.
They're magical.
Yep. Good job. Thanks. Someone else, the greatest joy in combining motherhood and sport.
I just want to say the impact that I've seen it make on my kids without even realizing I started this, just out of the blue. And then to see my kids see the joy I find in this, and actually go out and either want to participate with me or get more involved in something they like athletically. Just to see the motivation that they have for fitness now, just because of what I've done, is just like, that just is like the biggest impact to me.
That's great. Thanks, Ashley. I love it. I hope your kids carry that through. Michelle, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, but mine's not going to pull on anyone's heartstrings. But the reality is, when I did a couple triathlons last summer, I slept so good at night. Like, if all three of my kids were screaming, they would not have wakened me, because I was out hard and I appreciated a solid night of sleep.
This is beautiful. I love this,
That's
Michelle.
awesome.
You can relate, right?
Oh, goodness. All right.
I think Teresa and Ashley really hit on it. I mean, I remember the first time seeing my kids on my first triathlon and being like, look what I'm doing. And them looking at me at the end going, I'm so proud of you. Can I have a hug? And I'm like, yeah. So, and then, they followed that up with, can we go to Skyline now? So, it was a fleeting moment, but it's one of those that you're like, okay, I'm proud of myself because my kids see me doing this.
Yeah.
And so now every time I finish a hard workout or a race or something, I'm like, I'm proud of me because I know I'm doing this for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
And it does help me sleep better at night.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Cameron. Okay, Danielle? Did you have anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Okay. I think like with my daughter, seeing me do the races and having the discipline and motivation has, now that she's gotten older, it's helped her realize you have to have discipline, motivation, and have the goals, and it for everything in life, really. It helps structure just how to do your whole life, really, if you can do that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to summarize, I think that what we learn here is that it's doable, right? That you can be an athlete and be a parent. It takes some patience and giving yourself some grace, but if you want it, you can do it, right? And so I just want to tell you, ladies, that this has been so much fun. Thank you for opening up and being vulnerable about what it takes to juggle life and all that's involved in it. Your expertise and your insight, I know, will help those who are on the fence about starting and getting involved, and even to provide some comfort. That there is someone out there just like them, and women who find themselves in similar situations. So I appreciate you all so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you all out on the courses this year. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Kris. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.